It's great to be putting our exhibit back together after several years packed up, and we were very prepped for this because we have to be able to pull things out of here when there's a hurricane. So this was sort of a long-term closure like we would short-term for a hurricane. Everything's nice labeled, safely secured, packed boxes. We keep it in our storage. Now we're bringing it back. Items we've had on display for a while will be coming back out. This is one of the largest projectile points I think ever found in Jupiter. Also one of the oldest points like this, especially older ones that predate pottery. It's a good proof of Native American habitation here going back 5,000 plus years. Common misconception with projectile points is that they're arrowheads. I mean, you can look at this thing, it's almost the size of my hand. You're not gonna put this on an arrow and shoot it at somebody. This is going to be for a spear or maybe even some kind of knife. So we have the cases in here set up and organized by different types. Almost all of the artifacts that we have are from the local area. Some here at the lighthouse site, quite a few things from the Du Bois Mound. It's Du Bois Park today. As the shell was mined 100 years ago, they recognized the value of the historical artifacts and saved a lot of important ones. We're also bringing out a few new things. These are, if you go around the country, you'll see similar type axe heads of other history museums that have Native American stuff. This is pretty rare for down here in Florida because in Florida, South Florida particularly, we only have limestone. It's just too soft of a stone to be used for tools. So for the projectile points, they would have to import something called chert. For something like this, they would usually be importing basalt or greenstone, something from the Appalachian Mountains. This one is interesting though because while it's got the traditional shape of the axe head, the actual stone almost looks like it could, and maybe it's just very heavily tumbled basalt, but it looks like it could actually be a ballast stone from a shipwreck that has then been worked down into a more useful shape. So here's another example of traded stone tools that have been brought down here. Still have fairly sharp edges on these. The stone holds up really well, even if it's been in the ground for a while. And so they're using this for a lot of woodworking, making canoes, making other tools. This is something called a plummet. And they're one of the great mysteries of Native American use in the Southeast, especially Florida, because these are made out of a variety of local limestone, traded stone, shell, bone. They're come in all sorts of sizes. This is one of the larger ones. And the great mystery is, so exactly what were these things being used for? They all have the same general shape, kind of an oblong object with a neck that's been worn out for it's clearly something tied at the top. And the question is, well, were these fishing weights for a net? Were they weights for a bolo, like you throw to entangle something? Were they used decoratively that you'd actually like wear some of the smaller ones, lighter ones? And you know, perhaps the answer is all three depending on the size. This one is one of the larger ones, again, about hand size. Probably this one, this big, wouldn't have been practical to use anything other than like a fishing weight. One of the examples here of this really nice imported basalt made into what's very clearly looks kind of like an axe head, but you notice nothing really where to attach it up here. So this would be, it's even in both sides, so it'll be a silt. So you'd need to split a log, you put it where you need to, and hammer it in with another stone tool, or a lot of times they would make hammers out of things like really heavy conch shells, or other, you know, you could just use like a limestone rock pounded in, kind of the old-fashioned way. These have been found here on this site and at every single major archaeological site here in what we call the Jupiter Inlet complex. Du Bois, Sawfish Bay, Sunny Sands. These are imported from, nearest place you could find these is probably the Appalachians in North Georgia. So it's an example, not just finding here as knowing what they do for tools, but it's also a great example of trade networks that they are sending shells, coral, other fish, shark's teeth, things you can only find here in Florida, out of state, and then things are coming down here like the chert and occasional basalt tools for, you know, to use makeup good for the things they don't have down here with really good, hard, durable rock like this.